have no record.
Ideas are often abundant but fragile. There's really no way to determine when or how an idea is going to come to you. And once you've got the idea, you'll find yourself in the battle of what to do with it, how to determine its value, and how to bring it to life. Was it a stroke of genius, or maybe it's a potential waste of time if you pursued that path? It's hard to know the answer to those questions. It's the dance and misunderstood world of creativity. And recently, it was a good reminder when I stumbled across this video of Post Malone on the Joe Rogan podcast.
All of my ideas are kind of like mistakes. Because you never wake up and say, today I'm going to write, congratulations or any song. It's all about like right moment, right time, where you're like, let me sing this melody over this beat, or let me make this beat even.
Whatever that is that makes humans so interested in creating things that other people are going to enjoy. But that's what it is. It's like there's a weird frequency. Humans creating things that they know other people are going to enjoy. And if you can just get lost in the beauty of just creating the thing and get out of your own way, then these ideas will come to you. But if you get in your own way, you have less bandwidth for the ideas.
This made me start thinking about what goes into an idea. I started wondering about what I might know about getting an idea out of my head and into something tangible. And that actually starts with the process of abandoning searching for an idea and allowing the ideas to come to you. So step one, and what's probably the most important, is stop chasing ideas around the clock. It's a poor man's sport. And so I know I'm guilty of this. There's at least once or twice a week where I will sit down at my desk with notebook in hand and my laptop open and say, okay, it's time to brainstorm. It's time to come up with the new ideas for the week. And it never works. I never get my stroke of genius moment whenever I'm trying to force creativity, when I'm trying to force those ideas out of my head. Instead, I find my best ideas when I'm already working. When I'm going about my life and just living every day as I normally would, those are the moments where ideas tend to strike. Sort of like Post Malone mentioned in the Joe Rogan podcast, is that you have to be at the right place at the right time, and when the inspiration strikes, you have to be prepared for it. And that kind of leads us perfectly into step two, which is capture everything. You've got to be ready whenever that idea strikes, and you can't just let it marinate in your mind. You have to have a physical representation of it that you can take a look at. You know that moment where you're going to sleep and you're not quite asleep yet and something hits you and you're like, oh, this would be a great idea for my next project. And then you think, it's cool. I'll just remember it in the morning and then I'll get started. You never remember it, at least not in the same way. There might be fragments remaining, but that magic that made the moment so special tends to get lost. Like I said, ideas are delicate, and if we don't take care of them as soon as we get them, it's really difficult to maintain that same feeling and inspiration that we had in the moment. So for me, I try to keep a notebook by my bed. I make notes in my phone, voice notes. I have Google Docs with tons of ideas. Anytime a thought comes into my mind that might be worthwhile, making sure that I'm writing it down and including as many details as possible. You see, capturing the idea is really only the first part. If you make a note in the back of your sketchbook, that's a great initiative to start, but if you never revisit the idea and take action on it, then you may as well have never recorded it in the first place. So a practice that I like to do is every week do a curation of my ideas. I take the voice notes, the notes in my phone, the notes on my computer, and I curate what really, really matters to me in the moment. And then I try and make visual reminders of those ideas that I have to encounter over and over again. For me, that comes in the form of Post-it notes, so I'll often make some notes on Post-its and I leave them stuck to my computer or in the fridge, somewhere that I'm gonna have to encounter it over and over again. When you force yourself to look face to face with that idea, eventually you will reach a boiling point where it's either, okay, sit down, it's time to make this idea happen, or maybe it's not the right time for that idea and it can go back into the notebook. Pick the ideas that you really care about and have a passion for, and have those be your reminders around your everyday life. When you're setting out to get anything done, not only creative, but no matter what it is, you're sitting at the beginning of a process, and if you look too far down the timeline of things to come, it's really easy to get into that procrastination mindset and say, okay, it's too much, I can't deal with that right now. So for me, the practice of setting a timer for 10 minutes, and that's it. You only have to pursue that idea for 10 minutes. If it's research, if it's filming, if it's editing, just start for 10 minutes. And if at the end of that 10 minutes you genuinely don't want to continue working on it, that's okay. Take a break, step away from it, and then reapproach the idea at a different time. But of course, I find for myself and for many people that just by starting, by giving yourself that 10-minute window to get started, you'll often find your flow and work way longer than 10 minutes, and you'll get into that creative energy, and you're not worrying about accomplishing the whole picture. You're just focusing on the task at hand. Don't keep your ideas to yourself. Ideas and creative ideas especially are best used in collaboration and having fresh eyes come onto a project. The longer you look at one particular project, the more you'll start missing those little mistakes and what the obvious creative decisions should be in the moment. And so never hesitate to bring in collaborators, bring in friends, people who know the subject you're working on, and people that maybe have no idea what you're working on. Sometimes those can be the best perspectives. And when it comes to collaboration, even in a time like this where we're not doing a lot of face-to-face conversations, and even whenever the world reaches another point of normalcy, having the right tools to effectively collaborate and share your ideas is really, really important. And so that's why I want to talk about today's sponsor, which is Paste by WeTransfer. So Paste is a really incredible app that allows you to create beautiful decks and presentations with little to no design experience. When I first moved to New York City, I worked as a graphic design intern for my first few months of VaynerMedia before I started working with Gary. And basically my entire life, morning, afternoon, and at night, was making decks for different presentations and campaigns that we were working on. And there was never a really efficient or effective way to go about the design process. And after a designed deck was actually finished, sometimes there would need to be changes made halfway through or at the end, which would require this whole other pass of designing, and it was just not a good, effective workflow. Paste really solves so many of those problems with built-in templates and a really intuitive design language, which allows you to add in images, add mock-ups, and create a deck that looks really, really put together in a matter of minutes. And so I figured, as a way to show you how easy and simple working inside of Paste is, we're gonna create we're gonna create a brand sponsorship guide for my puppy, because we need a dog food sponsorship, don't we? So once you get logged into Paste, you're gonna start out with creating a new deck. Hey Chauncey, I'm trying to do an ad read. You're gonna see tons of pre-built templates pop up here that allow you to get a head start on your design. Now you'll see rather quickly an entire deck has already been created for us with spots to drop in photos and things like that. All these slides are completely editable and changeable based on the colors and themes that you want to include in your deck. So we'll select our first slide. We're gonna go down here to edit and start making some adjustments. We'll grab our first image of Chauncey that we need, drop it in here in the background. So we'll start out by changing our headline to Chauncey the dog. We'll add a background image and add his Instagram handle @longbody low legs. The thing about working inside a Paste that's so refreshing to me is that because of the design language that's sort of built in and how intuitive all of the controls are, you don't have to be a designer. You don't have to have any sort of design background. You can really easily and effectively package your message and idea and share it with the team you're working with. No matter what you're trying to share, whether you're pitching a new project, creating a shot list for an upcoming campaign, or a branded presentation for a wiener dog, Paste has all of the tools and functionality you need to create an effective, clean presentation to set you and your ideas apart.